ReSound just released a brand new hearing aid, the ReSound Sensia. And with this hearing aid, they're making some pretty bold claims. Better hearing and background noise, a new AI-driven sound system, the world's smallest rechargeable AI hearing aid equipped with Auracast, and all this with up to 24 hours of battery life. I want to forget the marketing for a moment. Now, I want to focus on, well, what's actually new with this hearing aid? Is it genuinely going to make a difference compared to previous products? Who this hearing aid could be right for? Now, before we dive in, it's important to keep in mind that it actually hasn't been released yet in Canada. We don't have a release date, so we're going based on everything we know. Now, before we dive in, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel. My name's Dario 𝗗𝗶𝘁𝗁𝗗. I'm an audiologist and doctor of audiology, and I've helped hundreds of people in the Toronto area to achieve better hearing and solve complex cases of hearing loss. Also an audiologist who has worked a lot with ReSound. What is the ReSound Sensia? Sensia is ReSound's new hearing aid platform that follows the release of Vivia. Now this is interesting because ReSound is putting one problem at the center of its launch: hearing speech in background noise. This makes sense because people rarely come into the clinic saying, "Dario, I just need to hear the birds 3 decibels louder." People come into the clinic saying, "I can't have a conversation with my family at the dining room. I feel like I can't go out to eat in a noisy restaurant because I'm going to miss the conversation," or kind of just sit at the dinner table and smile and nod. "I'm exhausted just trying to follow a conversation." Those are the things people come into the clinic saying. That's also the problem that hearing aid manufacturers are constantly trying to solve. How can we get people to hear better in noisy environments? And with the Sensia, ReSound has actually released a few new features to the Sensia to address this. The first thing is intelligent all around. This is a new feature that hasn't been in previous. The Sensia uses ReSound's AI-driven deep neural network, or DNN for short. Now, as a side note, I've talked about DNN in the past. So if you want a little bit more information on that, you can either go back to our 𝗗𝗶𝘁𝗵 hearing aid review, the ReSound Vivia. Now, AI is being attached to a lot these days, right? My phone has AI, my laptop has AI, my toaster will have AI by Christmas. So I think the important question isn't, does it have AI, but what is the AI going to do for me? So ReSound says the Sensia is going to continuously scan and automatically adapt to your environment, which is going to help to make speech more clear while keeping background noise present. This is the thing I always focus on, is the goal of noise reduction in hearing aids to eliminate background noise, because that's not a natural experience, but we want to reduce the background noise so that it's not interfering with our goal or our conversation. There's an interesting philosophy behind this. Now, traditionally, hearing aids have used directionality to help focus on what you want to hear. Oftentimes, this was what's happening in front of you. But we know real conversations aren't always that convenient. Sitting in a noisy restaurant and the waiter walks up beside us, that's not things that we want to miss. Someone might start talking to you from a different direction, and you're going to turn your head to focus on them. Our listening environments are constantly changing. In addition to intelligent all around, ReSound also released a new feature called acoustic. The ReSound Sensia is going to be constantly analyzing your environment and trying to understand, well, what sounds do you actually want to hear, or what are you trying to hear, rather than assuming the loudest sound is the one that you want to hear, because oftentimes the loudest sound is background noise. And based on how these new features are working behind the scenes, the idea is you can really just turn towards the sound that you want to hear. According to ReSound, you can physically turn towards the sound you want to hear, whether that's the person in front of you at the dinner table or the waiter coming up beside you taking your drink order. This feature is going to be particularly interesting in a restaurant setting or group conversation. Now, here's where we need to separate, well, what do we know from what do we still need to test? Because this hearing aid has not been released yet. We are going purely based on the information that has been released. ReSound is really reporting some impressive results. According to ReSound, 83% of the users who tested this product achieved superior speech and noise compared to other premium brands. Now, of course, when hearing aids are being compared to other manufacturers, all of that information is kept anonymous, so we're not sure what they're comparing. There's also a little bit of independent research that has come out looking at ReSound's microphone setup as well as their deep neural network and their approach to reducing noise, kind of like they're calling it denoising. And there's some really encouraging signs. Now, of course, the disclaimer is we haven't tested this. We haven't personally worked with this product. We haven't fit this on any patients. We don't have any real world. Come back for a full review when this hearing aid is released, but as of right now, we don't have any real world tests. I can't tell you if this is the best hearing aid for background noise. That's not something that we're ever going to be able to determine from a manufacturer's brochure. I want to put hearing aids on actual patients. I want to ensure that they're verified properly. I want to make sure that they've had an appropriate adjustment period and we've made tweaks based on their experience of wearing a hearing aid. I want to put people in real listening environments, understand their experience. Very interesting technology, very interesting claims, but let's test it. Now, before we jump in, I also want to think about, well, what has ReSound done in the past? And the first thing I can think of is when they released AI in the Vivia product, we had to remember that they only released it in the mini rechargeable RIC in the premium level. For going based on that, I'm going to assume a lot of these new features are only going to be in a premium level product through ReSound, which is a level 9, probably in the MRIC rechargeable product. Now, of course, we don't fully know what that spectrum looks like yet, but if I'm going based on assumptions, that's where I'm going. Also going to assume that some of the lower level technologies like a 7, probably not a 5, are also going to see the introduction of a deep neural network, which we didn't see on the Vivia platform. I would imagine in the level 9, automatic, so the DNN is actually kicking in automatically. Kind of was one of my critiques of Vivia, was that somebody had to manually engage their AI hearing noise program. We'll see in this newer product, it's automatic. I would imagine in a level 7 product, you'll probably have access to the DNN network, but it's going to be manually engaged. We'll have more information once this product is actually released. Now, just like the Vivia, ReSound is calling this the smallest AI rechargeable hearing aid. Based on the marketing brochures and the literature that's available, it looks like it's using the same housing as the ReSound Vivia, which honestly, patients have been happy with. Most people don't usually like to admit it, or style-wise, the marketing and the literature and the brochures online all make it seem like the new Sensia is actually using the same housing as the Vivia. So physically, we're probably not going to see a difference in terms of size or shape. We have had a lot of positive feedback with the size of the Vivia. I mean, oftentimes, probably more than people care to admit, the number one thing people are looking for is discretion. And so if we're able to pack a lot of power and technology in a small behind the ear product, of course we want a hearing aid to be discreet, but you also want it to be comfortable. And when we're able to put it into a smaller package that's lighter on the ear and feels more natural, it's going to be something where you pop your hearing aids on in the morning, you wear them throughout the day, you take them off at night. I tell people all the time, I want your experience of wearing a hearing aid to sound natural, but I also want it to feel natural. Now, when most manufacturers release products, we'll usually see a slow release. So we'll usually see behind the ear first, and then maybe a few months, a year or so later, we'll see that same product be released in a custom platform. Whereas this is a little bit different, where we're seeing it across a whole family. So we're going to see the rechargeable like we've seen with Vivia. We're also going to have a size 312 and 13 disposable battery option as well. We're also going to get non-wireless CIC, a wireless CIC, and then we'll also get a rechargeable ITC and ITE. From the looks of it, and this has always kind of been a sticking point with ReSound, is the rechargeable custom products still look pretty bulky. I was hoping that after 𝗗𝗶𝘁𝗶𝘁 or Vivia, we would see some streamline of their custom product. However, they still are seeming like they're going to be a little bit bulky. But again, until we actually see the release of these products and fit it on patients, we're not going to know. One of the other interesting parts is we still have a cross or bi-cross solution, but we actually have a bimodal solution as well. So both the RICS as well as the Enso IA are now going to be bimodal. So for patients who are wearing a cochlear implant on one side, we can now connect their ReSound hearing aid to the opposite side, of course, as long as they're a manufacturer that works. So the release of the ReSound Sensia isn't purely just one hearing aid. It's a broad spectrum of products really designed to fit most people. The nice thing as well is we're still seeing all of the fan favorite colors. There hasn't been the subtraction of any colors. There hasn't been any colors that added. Oftentimes, ReSound has a really nice spectrum of colors that most people really enjoy, and we're able to match well, whether you want to match skin tone, hair tone, purely pick a color because you like it. For the rechargeable MRIC hearing aid, ReSound is advertising up to 24 hours of battery life, including streaming. Now, of course, battery life and power usage is going to depend on your hearing loss, how much power the hearing aid is using, how much streaming are you doing? Do we have your hearing aids connected to your phone, your tablet? Are we using a ReSound TV streamer or multi-mic, or in the future, any Auracast accessories? But if we can achieve all-day battery life in a tiny product, Sensia also continues ReSound's move to Auracast and low-energy Bluetooth. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know Auracast is interesting and it's really going to change the game for hearing aid users in the future once it's actually readily available. But it's always great to see that our hearing aids are future ready. Imagine walking into an airport and your terminal's announcements are directly streamed into your hearing aid. No more grainy announcements that you're trying to figure out if your gate has moved or if your flight is boarding. It's all seamless and in your hearing. Or at a theater or a lecture hall, even in a TV in a public space. Think about going to the gym and the tease of having a TV on your treadmill in front of you, but there's no sound. Auracast will change that. You find the Auracast broadcast and you'll be able to stream that TV directly into your hearing aid. The ReSound Sensia will connect to Auracast. Use the ReSound Smart 3D app to find an Auracast broadcast. There was a pretty big ReSound Smart 3D app update in the past. I don't know if Sensia is coming with a new app. Let's wait and see. Now again, Auracast's not everywhere, so it's not necessarily something where we're only going to prescribe or fit a hearing aid for Auracast purposes, but it's definitely something to keep in mind because, like I said, when it becomes more publicly available, it is going to change the game for hearing aid users. There's also practical aspects. One of the things I love about the ReSound Sensia, but really about the ReSound Vivia, is the replaceable microphone cover. In clinic, personally, I found this on the ReSound Omnia or the One or even the 𝗗𝗄𝗄. When we started to use the ReSound Vivia in clinic, where we now had replaceable microphone covers, the amount of repairs we were sending out for weak or dead microphones reduced significantly, which was a time saver for us, but also a benefit for our patients. They weren't without their hearing aids, or they weren't wearing a loaner to get them by. You have to imagine, live in a pretty hostile environment. Our ears are these dark, damp places where they're exposed to moisture and sweat and earwax. So having a hefty coating like an IP68 rating is great. Now, according to ReSound, having a replaceable microphone cover has actually reduced the amount of repairs they're completing. This is not a feature as exciting as hearing better in speech and noise or AI technology. If you've ever had to send your hearing aid out for repair, this is a big change. This is a win. I really like it. Should you buy the ReSound Sensia? Too early to tell. And I mean that in a good way. On paper, there's a lot of wins. This to me seems like a really exciting product and builds on a lot of flaws or things I would have liked to see differently in the Vivia. Primarily an automatic DNA. We now have it. The thing I'll be looking for is, how do these new features like intelligent all-around or acoustic actually play in real life? Are we going to achieve with real patients what ReSound claims? Are patients going to sit in our clinic chairs and say, I love these hearing aids. I was able to have a conversation in a noisy restaurant and didn't feel like I was struggling? Because when patients come back and say they can have a meaningful conversation or feel more connected, you can't get any better than that. Now, here's another important note, and I've said this in every video. You can buy the best hearing aid on the market, but if that hearing aid is not programmed using real ear measures and you're doing the appropriate follow-up care, we can't guarantee that you're going to have success. So whether you're coming to see us, you're seeing a hearing aid provider near you, it's really important to ensure that your hearing aids are being fit with real ear measurements, as well as a series of follow-ups to ensure that you're actually doing well with the product. So my first impressions, I'm interested. The intelligent all-around is a winning headline for me. A small rechargeable battery that we know has worked well with the Vivia and probably will work really well with the Sensia, also another win. So it seems like ReSound has put together a really compelling new platform. This is what we know. This is not my final verdict or a review of the product. We need to make sure we get that in clinic and we test it on real. I want to program it. I want to verify it. I want to get real world feedback from our patients. I'll tell you what I really think. At the time of recording this video, ReSound Sensia has not been released. In Canada, we don't have an expected release date, but if we're going based on what we'll usually see, we're going to see it come out in the US and then we'll slowly see it come out in Canada. Now, if you're in Ontario where I practice, the other thing that we're going to need to wait for is ADP approval before we're actually able to fit this hearing aid on patients who are eligible for the ADP government funding. So like this video, but better yet, subscribe to our channel. So that way, when the ReSound Sensia is actually released and we fit it on real world patients and get the full review to understand, is this the right product for you? Whether all this technology is actually going to make a difference. Tell me in the comment, where do you want me to test the ReSound Sensia? In a restaurant, in a movie theater, speech and noise, Bluetooth, and battery life? Or should we put it toe to toe with other premium hearing aids on the market? Make sure you give the video a like if a comparison is something that you want to see. My name's Dario, this is 𝗗𝗶𝘁𝗶𝘁𝗶, and I'll see you in the next one.